L'Honorable Senator Dawson.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I apologize. Last night there was a reception for my departure at the Metropolitan that everybody has mentioned. And when the Speaker was walking into the room, they said, l'invité d'honneur arrive, please.
The guest of honor is arriving.
And he was l'invité d'honneur up until that time. But 30 seconds later, the Prime Minister walked in. and Mr. Speaker, I'm sorry everybody forgot you, but I still noticed that you were there. So I want to apologize for it. But I think that you understand it. I could comment I think I probably will comment everybody. But I'll keep it maybe for... You know, one of the first things I did when I came here is that Senator Lapointe, who I did not get along with very much, or not at all, had said these things should last at maximum 15 minutes. We're going for an hour, all right? And I was walking in the other place, and I ran into Senator Batters, and I said to Senator Batters, no, Senator Batters, don't be afraid. I won't use up my full 45 minutes and not give you a chance to ask questions, because you can't ask questions. So anyway, listen, I'll come back maybe if I have time at the end. But, Monsieur le Président, avec tous les...
Mr. Speaker, with all the praise I've just heard about me, I might have to reconsider my decision to leave. And I certainly will remember these wonderful words and use them if need be, if I'm my name is put forward for another position. And I will remember these words as I get older, as the good old times.
In Quebec City, that Jacques Chagnon knows very well, that had decided to leave his job as an MLA and run for the city of Laval as mayor. And everybody got up in the chamber and started talking. And the people of l'Union Nationale started talking about how wonderful this guy was, Jean-Noël Lavoie. Il est un homme extraordinaire. So anyway, Jean-Noël Lavoie was defeated as mayor of Laval. So then he ran to succeed himself in his own seat, and his publicity was based on what the nice Union Nationale people had said about him. But don't be afraid. Senator Blake, don't be afraid. I'm not coming back as an MP. If I wanted to stay, I'd have stayed here. It was a lot easier, and you don't have to do door-to-door napping. So this is the last time I rise in this chamber. After flipping through and listening to a number of farewell speeches from my departing colleagues over the past years, I have drawn the conclusion that the fewer years spent in the Senate, the longer the farewell speech. And the longer the term has been, the shorter the farewell speech was. So normally I should sit down right away after 25 years, but I will not believe it that easy for you. But nevertheless, and I want to quote our former colleague, Senator Baker, who I want to... his wife died last week, and I want to... he was my first seatmate when I walked into the House of Commons 45 years ago. He was sitting beside me, and he was always practically as colorful as Senator Manning, but certainly more interesting. So I offer Senator Baker my sympathy for the passing of his wife, but as we've heard him say, some of us have heard so often, I will be brief. George's speakers were always a treat to listen to. For his gift as a speaker, his wit, his clever humor were unparalleled. He was a great inspiration. Today is my turn to be brief, and I will be, trust me. Comme Jean-Pierre Ferland, ce grand auteur-compositeur.
As Jean-Pierre Ferland, this great Quebec artist, said, it's time to light the fire at home. I'm coming home again. I'm going back to Quebec City after 45 years. And I basically lived as much in Ottawa and Quebec City during that time. After 2 years of hybrid work without having to go to Ottawa, I thought it was time to go home again. Coming back here full-time, in fact, forced my hand. And Air Canada has cancelled flights between Quebec City and Ottawa.
Wait for me to retire. C11, I'll go back to my speech because I'm going to be funny. Over all those years in Ottawa, I through many ventures across Canada, made lots of friends and acquaintances that have become dear to me. And many of those have become very good friends here in Ottawa. But I'm going back home. I'm going back home to Quebec City. Je me suis fait beaucoup d'amis.
I made a lot of friends and few enemies, as far as I know. During my time in Ottawa, I've met so many people, but I chose to prioritize Quebec, my home, my birthplace, where my family is and my friends from always. But I can't go without saying a heartfelt thank you to all those who, close and far away, have been with me in the Senate, in particular. In fact, this includes many assistants, many are here, many who were there last night, and some moved on to other positions in politics or have done other things in life.
Since we're not supposed to name people that are in the tribute, so I won't name her, but Kate is up there anyway. Kate did something this morning that I really appreciated. She posted the first speech I made in the House of Commons 40-odd years ago. The problem is that you'll all see that I haven't improved much since then, you know. So people can go back and listen to it and say, my God, he hasn't improved at all. I've had other staffers that are here, Arlene, Daphne, Stephen, and finally Jeremy, who have always, it's important, I've always managed to make me look good. And that's what we need in staffers. You know, that's their first mandate. Make us comfortable, obviously, but make us look good. Merci du fond du cœur à tous.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart to everyone for having been with me through the ups and downs of parliamentary life in the Senate. Thank you as well to some of my Senate colleagues. I spent many happy years since I was appointed in 2005. I haven't made close friendships with all of my friends, but with some of them, we have special relationships, and I appreciated you.
Over the years. And I found in most of you, if not all of you, a genuine drive to serve our compatriots with dedication, contribute to making our country one of the best in the world. It's not broken. Might need a little fixing and a little love, but trust me, it's not broken. Plusieurs d'entre vous, that's about, Senator Platt, that's about as partisan as I'll be. Plusieurs d'entre vous.
Many of you from all political horizons here have become friends.
That moment, preciously, it was an opportunity for me to try to shed. I didn't succeed in convincing you to join our caucus, but as Michelle Odette learned, even if you've been there for a few years, and I'm saying that in front of everyone, even if you've been in the other caucus, you're always welcome in the Progressive Caucus. Je me considère très chaleureux d'avoir.
I feel privileged to have worked side by side with high-caliber people who have contributed to public life and for advancing things in their province and territories and across the country. There were also less happy years since I was appointed, and this has been the case with other senators. And the main sad event was when we were kicked out of the Liberal caucus years ago. I finally accepted that decision, but I disagreed with it, and I haven't changed my mind since.
Last night to have the Prime Minister come to my farewell party, and I might have mentioned to him that I, even many years later, did not really appreciate getting thrown out of my political party. But I did. But I did announce to him that I was going to the Liberal Convention in the month of May as a liberated senator that is allowed to have partisan opinions. La liste de toutes les personnes que j'aimerais remercier.
The list of people I'd like to thank is very long. To recognize my 45 years, I began my public life, as was already said, as a school board trustee and then as a school board director. But I'd like to talk about my last years here at the Senate. The first person I need to thank, of course, is Paul Martin, the Right Honorable Paul Martin, a friend, mentor, and guide who was there last night. And he had the excellent idea of appointing me to the Senate in 2005, and clearly it was one of his better decisions. And I will be eternally grateful to him for that.
Privilege of sitting in this House and thanking for having given me this opportunity to serve my fellow citizens. I wish and I hope I met his expectations and made him proud of the confidence he put in me when he appointed me to the upper chamber. Par cette nomination, il me donna.
Through his appointment, he gave me the opportunity to contribute to public life in Canada and Quebec, and it also allowed me to serve my constituents, this times within this august institution, the Senate of Canada. That said, Paul Martin, for me, has always been a person we need in politics because their only mission is to serve the public and to improve the fate of their fellow citizens, both socially and economically. That said, I've taken my role seriously, and I feel I've worked really hard to contribute to life here. I'm proud of my participation in debates, and I feel that I worked collaboratively with my colleagues here at the Senate, and in our role as people of sober second thought to improve bills through our studies. In particular, I'd like to point to the friendship and support which former Senator Serge Boyal, who was a mentor for me when I was appointment, and Francis Fox, a great friend, long-standing friend, who came here the same time I did.
Here somewhere, that my friend Jim, having spent 14 years as my leader, I might have been a little bit of a pain for him sometimes because I've been known to have independent opinions, but it was a pleasure serving with you. It was a pleasure serving with Serge, a pleasure serving with all of my colleagues. That, somebody mentioned earlier in one of the speeches that I was one of the last. It's true. I came in with I started politics with Trudeau the first. I'm finishing politics with Trudeau the second, or as we say in French, de Trudeau à l'autre.
So from one Trudeau to another.
I have to admit that I'm also the only person in Parliament that is still here until the next few hours, having served with both of them. When I leave, he's going to have to find somebody else to complain about. But I have to tell you that because I'm also the only person in the House of Commons or in the Senate that in French that I say, j'ai voté pour la.
I voted for the Charter of Rights.
I just hope that people don't do the translation to understand that one is liked and one is less liked, whether he's speaking to Rock or speaking to Quebec. But that's my political instinct. That Jim, plusieurs collègues.
Several current or present colleagues would deserve to receive my
comments. I did joke about Senator Batters not wanting to speak for 45 minutes. Jane, one of my great accomplishments, and I did an interview with the Senate Communications Service, was the creation of Progressive Caucus. Obviously, we were looking for ourselves, and I think that we and Terry succeeded in making a successful group. And I encourage people to understand that having more caucuses in this place will make this place a better place. So I'm asking you to understand that, and I think we should work on that. Mark, yes, I have had wonderful staff, but I have to say that you've been well served. A lot of people in your office, including your deputy chair, a deputy leader, makes you look good, so we have to take that. Senator Platt, yes, we did some shopping in Brussels, I think. I was buying bow ties and he was buying ties. But that was probably the only occasion we had fun, because a lot of times we were more in conflict than anything else. CBC, very good example of where there was no reconciliation possible. The reality is that he wanted it to disappear, I wanted it to stay, and you know what? It's still there. Senator Platt, it's going to stay there. Like Raymond said, we've known each other. Her husband did law with my wife, and we've known each other for many, many years. And we have, even though we're in different caucuses, we've cooperated often in the past, and I really appreciate her comments. My son played in kindergarten with her son, so it's been a long tradition. My son, the one with the beard and the long hair, where did he get that? I don't know. and Senator Platt and Senator Leo, he makes his own bow ties too. And Senator Manning, you were late because I did a demonstration on how to make a bow tie earlier, but I won't do it again because I don't want to push my luck. Senator Klein, C11, I have this new colleague that's sitting with me on the committee, and we pride ourselves of having very independent opinions, and we didn't always get along, but I knew that in the end I could always count on his support. Leo, I was comfortable knowing that you were going to speak because I ran into your wife who's on the Hill, and she told me, Dennis, don't be afraid, he's only going to be saying nice things about you. So that means I don't get to do any snide remarks about you because you were too nice to me. Eric, c'est mon ami.
Eric is my friend, and now he's my neighbor in Quebec City. He lives 5 minutes from my house, and perhaps I will see you more often in Quebec City than I do here in Ottawa.
Somebody's going to have to tell me what a mouchou is, because I don't know. Well, mouchou, I'll ask Michelle to describe it to me. I hope it's a compliment. Julie, t'es un
Julie, I feel great pride in you. I know that I sponsored you, and I think and helped you, and I think you're a wonderful parliamentarian, and I'm very pleased to have helped you with your career.
Patricia, you were my cultural instructor. Patricia, we're on the Foreign Affairs Committee doing a study on culture. She was my advisor on a subject that I should have known more about, but I learned a lot through Patricia. Mohammed, yes, ran into you in the street, and you looked lost. I don't know if it was because you were from Labrador, Newfoundland, and that you were looking for what. But I really felt that I could be a little bit of an inspiration. And yes, when we went to the International Parliamentary Union, I did try to introduce you to that world, and it's a wonderful world. Raymond also came with us at some of these conferences, and oui, ça paraît pas, mon cher René.
It doesn't show, my dear René, but I've been defending the LGBT causes in international conferences. I went to Djibouti, the Foreign Affairs Minister, and I was told, don't talk about that.
I'm going to say that in Djibouti, where it's prohibited for being an homosexual. Then a year later, I went with Raymond and Mohammed to an IPU conference in Qatar, and it's illegal to be an homosexual in Qatar. And I made my speech, and I said, a right is a right is a right, and they have to. So I've always done it in my way, and I've always been proud of having done that. I lost my point in the speech again. I'll just take the opportunity, because when you leave, Pierrette and I have something in common, because Pierrette is one, and I think there's José. There are a few people here that sat in both houses. When you leave the other place, they don't get you, and you're defeated, they don't give you a chance to say thank you for having served, because you don't have that opportunity. Since I have an opportunity today to thank the people of Louis-Hébert for having elected me in 77, re-elected me in 79, elected me in 80, I want to thank them for having had confidence in me. 84, well, I got to admit that they made a decision. I have to live with it. And yes, it's such a small world that the person that defeated me was Suzanne Duplessis, and later she came out, and she arrived here in the Senate, and she was still in front of me as an opposition senator. I did jump over. I had a long speech. I'm looking at Paul Massicotte, Senator Green. I had a long speech about the reform of this place, all right, because I do believe that this needs to be reformed. There are a lot of improvements that have to be done, but I think that it's not a time to I won't do it. I'm going to probably publish in the Hill Times what I think should be done to improve things, including the fact that there's not only a half a kilometer between the House and the Senate. We are now miles away one from the other. We don't contact. We don't share information. We don't have relationships. We don't have... I gave the example. I have often given the example that you go to the PMO, René, they have a desk for the LGBTI at the PMO. They have a desk for Western development, economic development, foreign affairs, American, Canada, US, but they don't have a desk for the Senate. So nobody at the PMO, nobody at PCO is really the person to go to when you have a senator issue. And I think that could be an improvement. He said, you're an independent Senate, but I still name the Speaker. I still name the leader of the government, obviously. And he's going to be naming the next clerk. Well, if we're independent, I would hope that we could have that power. But again, I'm not going to do all of those things because I said I'd try to shorten my speech. So I'll take those pages away. This is the part where I take out the box of Kleenex, or I got one here, where yes, I have spent Anne and I have been together for 40 years. In political life, that's only 20 because I was gone half the time. and she endured those days. Cindy, my daughter, who lives here in Ottawa, has been my constant dinner companion, and I'm going to miss, because I'm going back home, but I'm going to miss having these dinners with my daughter. That's the Kleenex. I'm just taking it in case. Je leur ai dit que je les aime.
I say it over and over again. I love them, and I look forward to spending more time with them. As was said so well several times with my new granddaughter, who's been added to our lives a few weeks ago. Before leading the Senate, please allow me to share a few thoughts with you on the institution.
Give you advice. Just the Massica Green report, Senator Belmar's efforts at the Rules Committee, all of these things, it's nice to talk about them, but we have to act on them because this place does need. I did criticize the fact that we were thrown out of caucus in 2014. I told the Prime Minister, he actually mentioned it to him last night in a very impolite way, a polite way, but not respectful of the fact that he's the Prime Minister and I'm close to be a former senator. But I did feel that I understand why it was done, but the follow-up and the follow-through and how I remember when I arrived, when the new independent senators we had 6 independent senators and 3 government representatives. Now we have 55 independendent senators and we still have 3 representatives. The work they have to do to handle all of these committees and all of these members just means that the Prime Minister has not, the PMO and the government have not understood that they also have to adapt to the fact that quand on met quelqu'un au monde,
if you give birth to someone, you have to listen to them. That's from a great song.
The senators are saying, you've got to modernize the rules. You've got to help us make this a better place. It means it took 6 years for the Parliamentary Act to be changed. And I'm very happy for you, but the only thing it meant is that you're getting money. Because for the rest, the rules were not changed. It just means that they're respecting the fact that if you're having a mandate, that mandate should be recognized. But apart from that, there are a lot of modernization that has to be done. But if you want to go to the PMO and ask them who to do it, there's nobody in that office that is mandated to deal with the Senate. And I think that's the wrong thing. So anyway, a lot of things about the reform that I'd like to get into. I'll just jump over those pages and I could talk about the appointment process. I think Paul Martin had a very good one. I certainly can't contest his judgment. Julie, it's true. I had decided when I was thrown out of caucus in 2014. I did really feel that I should leave. I had a liberal career, and I still do believe in partisan politics, and I didn't leave because after that, we created the Progressive Group. I was named CIBA. When I'm looking at the clerks, I'm looking at the Speaker, I'm looking at all the people that work in the Senate. For the few years that I've been working on CIBA, I've learned to admire the work they do. And it's been very challenging and very interesting experience for me. And that's one of the things the LTVP committee, the JIC, I will miss those things. A lot of things I won't miss, but those things I will miss. And I want to thank the people that supported us. I'm looking at Gerard, that I've known for a long time, and I'm saying, I will miss these people. I'm going to miss you too, but I will miss these people that are in front of us. So the only thing that was left was the timing of my departure. And a lot of things happened. I joked about the fact that there were no more. I had to come back here all the time because they have hybrid in the other place, which I don't understand why they can be hybrid and we can't, or I don't even understand why they are hybrid. I was there for many years. I was always proud to sit in the House of Commons. I'd rather sit in the House of Commons than be on the Zoom committee. But they took their decisions. I
don't want to spend too much time on this or dull it, but I have the profound conviction that with respect to me, I've always served the interests of our country and our fellow citizens.
Those have been wonderful years in spite of a few bad curves. I wish the best of luck to those of you who will continue to be part of this institution. But it is time to go home to my wife, to my family, and yes, again, I repeat, to my daughter. I'm quite proud. I like to be anything but bragging. I'm not, but I am humbled in the fact that what I heard here today, I think I've tried to live up to the fact that Paul Martin named me, and my problem now is to try to live up to everything that was said.
Once again, I'd like to thank those who made it possible for me to participate actively, in all modesty, but with a great deal of determination to help make Canada one of the best countries in the world, which remains the best country in the world, of course.
Once in a while, but as a tourist.